So, I haven't exactly been coy about hinting that I know of a lot of insane Intel architectures coming out over the next 5 years, and that I feel competition is really going to heat up by the end of 2023. But I have been coy about telling everyone everything, and I'm still going to be a little timid about that because, frankly, well, there's a lot of key details I've been told by some of my best sources just to literally not tell people for competitive reasons for Intel and simply because people could get in trouble. But, well, I'm guessing a lot of you watching this are aware of that mysterious Reddit post and Jim's recent Arrow Lake leak, which, let me confirm, as far as I'm aware, pretty much everything Jim said in that Arrow Lake leak is correct based on what I know. In fact, early this year, I was told that it might not even come to desktop and it was really meant to take on Mac, so I really have no reason to doubt what he said. It's actually because it's meant to take on Mac, I really didn't pay much attention to that architecture. But I have been paying attention to other ones and hinting at kind of revolutionary upgrades that are coming. And I've actually been saying a lot of quotes that are pretty similar to what that mysterious Reddit poster said. I suspect this Reddit poster got a hold of a few key details and is an avid listener of Jim and me on Broken Silicon, and well, decided to try to put it together and make some big post for some reason using a name similar to mine. But he did know some real code names, so he definitely knew something. And yeah, I mean, I wish I said all of the code names first, I guess. But I'm not sure how useful saying a bunch of code names is, right? For example, when Jim leaked his Arrow Lake information, he tried to tell a little bit more than just the code name, like tell you that Intel really is building some of their stuff at TSMC, and they really are seeing Apple as a giant threat, much like I've said before, and honestly, not just about Intel, but also about AMD. But clearly something's going on where it's becoming open season when it comes to confirming upcoming products from Intel, and so I've decided that I am going to leak a few things, and at the very least, although I still insist on not saying everything because, well, I just want to be careful with my sources, I want to at least tell the story of what Intel's doing, because when I'm seeing some of these leaks coming out now about Intel, I think there's a greater narrative that people should know that tells you what Intel's ultimate design goals are to maybe take the crown back at everything from AMD. But first, I want to leak details about a product that isn't probably going to take a crown back, but is coming soon enough that I think you should all know about it, and that is Emerald Rapids. Which, yes, I am aware I am not the first to talk about it, nor will all of the details I'm about to confirm from my end be the first they're said. Now, at this point, everyone's getting really excited, especially internally at Intel, for Alder Lake, and that's because, well, let's just be honest, this is the biggest increase in performance at, well, everything multi-threaded and single-threaded for Intel for years. This is going to be a massive increase over Rocket Lake and Tiger Lake. And I'm actually, though, kind of more excited for Raptor Lake just because of what it signifies. No, it's not going to like double multi-threading performance over Alder Lake like Alder Lake should over Tiger Lake at the same power usage. I don't want to get into what that actually means, but it is adding 8 more cores again, as I leaked, and bringing higher IPC and clock speeds than Alder Lake, as I leaked a couple months ago. And so for me, Raptor Lake is the more exciting because it shows Alder Lake isn't just like a one-off and then more 10% increases. Intel's looking to increase performance by like 30% or more year over year, every year from now on. And so that's really how you should think of Emerald Rapids, you know, not a doubling of performance or some massive increase like Sapphire Rapids really will be over Ice Lake X, but it is an increase. It's going to 64 cores at 350 watts on an Intel 7 node that should be very mature by the time it launches in 2023. Now, it is planned to launch in Q1, and I actually think Intel's going to start hitting their milestones when they say they will more often moving forward under Pat Gelsinger. But I still have to say it's the goal. It's not 100% confirmed. And it does bring faster DDR5, higher IPC. It will have higher clock speeds too. Honestly, when you look at that DDR5 speed, you look at the higher IPC than what's in Golden Cove. I would say this is clearly something like Raptor Cove or a similar architecture, although I haven't had anyone specifically say it is, and I still wouldn't be surprised if Intel came up with a new Cove name to replace what they're calling Raptor Cove to also be used on Emerald Rapids. And after that, though, all there is to say is that it is, again, just really an iteration of Sapphire Rapids design. It's same node, same 4 core tiles. I do not know how many cores are in each tile, but it's obviously at least 16. It would not surprise me if maybe it goes up to something like, you know, I don't know, like 18 cores, so that the total could technically be 72 cores. But if I'm told the node is very mature, I don't know. They may have just been planning to use the full core count, and it is just 16 cores per tile. Just can't say for sure. But what I can also say is that my sources are talking about Granite Rapids, which its placement on the roadmap is moving around now, and Diamond Rapids. And Diamond Rapids is the big one, guys. This is the one where I think Intel could catch up to AMD in server performance, but it's probably not till 2025, and well, you'll get some hints of what could be in it when I talk about Lunar Lake later. Also, there's Sierra Forest that I know other people have mentioned, like Adored. I just want to say that Sierra Forest isn't some version of another thing as far as I'm aware. That Sierra Forest is kind of a radical side project for different customers. And that if you look at Granite Rapids coming next to Sierra Forest, you look at Arrow Lake coming next to Meteor Lake, stop thinking of everything as just linearly replacing everything before it. That's how I knew that Reddit post had so many things wrong in it. It's because he acts like everything is just linearly replacing everything. Bergamo doesn't replace Genoa either. Once we move past Emerald Rapids, once we start getting out of Zen 4 from AMD's side, there's going to start being multiple architectures per segment for different customers. Things are going to get complicated, but they're also going to get really exciting. And the last thing I will say is people aren't paying enough attention to these side architectures. The stuff Intel's working on is crazy. But that's for another video. And I'm about to talk about how Intel will compete with Threadripper next year and an early look at Lunar Lake, but first an ad from a sponsor. Oh, shoot. What was that password? God, I forgot it. Reese, can you bring me my Netflix password? Here, puppy. Come here. Peacock? What the heck? No one needs to log into Peacock ever. Having trouble managing your passwords? Is your dog categorizing system not working very well anymore? Well, then you should use RoboForm Password Manager. RoboForm is a password manager that allows you to easily store your passwords and log into websites with a single click. That includes streaming devices, credit cards, and anything. And they can be linked across multiple devices and browsers, so you could share passwords, for example, between a Chrome browser and your iPhone. And it even lets you share bookmarks between these devices as well, which for me is personally an incredible feature when you consider how many electronics of different manufacturers, operating systems, and browsers I use every day. It's super easy to get started. You can have it up and running within minutes, and they provided a special deal for my viewers, you, that allows you to get 30% off your RoboForm Everywhere subscription by using the link on screen or in the description. And if you do use this, it's only $16 a year. Use my link so they know Moore's Law is Dead sent you. This really helps the channel. And of course, if you need to manage multiple passwords and bookmarks across multiple devices and browsers, well, you should be using RoboForm today. What is for this video, though, is confirming that while I am excited for what Intel has coming in some segments next year, in 2023, and really in all segments 2024 and onwards, I do not see Emerald Rapids as something that's really going to catch up to AMD. So they're still going to at least be behind in server in 2023. You see, Emerald Rapids is, yeah, better than Sapphire Rapids, probably like 30% better, but Genoa is not going to be 30% better than Milan. Genoa is going to be probably almost twice as good, 50% more cores with massively higher IPC, and it should come out before Emerald Rapids, so that's not going to look very good. And in fact, Bergamo will be out at about the same time anyways. I've already leaked that Threadripper's coming out at the end of this year with Zen 3, and Threadripper Pro is coming out next year, although I have been told recently that Threadripper Pro isn't coming out until July 2022, and this source is very sure of that. So that's when Threadripper Pro comes out. That's when Threadripper comes out. And I just don't see really Intel being competitive in HEDT until 2023. And they will only be competitive if they can price Emerald Rapids HEDT chips really cheaply. But things for smaller products that go into laptops and desktops, things could be different sooner. And those products, well, they kind of spell out, if you know what they are, what Intel's trying to do. And when I see some of these mysterious leaks just saying little tidbits here and there, and, you know, doing things like saying, oh, Arrow Lake's after Meteor Lake, it replaces it, and so on and so forth, it misses the greater picture. Like, Intel's moving away from the idea of single architectures that linearly replace the ones before them. And I've been leaking little details about Meteor Lake, where I first confirmed Redwood Cove, and Lunar Lake, where I actually told people what the IPC roughly would be, and people for some reason didn't care, I don't know, and so on and so forth for a while. It's time to spell out what's going on here. And it starts with something that I've been told by multiple people for a while now about Alder Lake, and that's that it is a first step into Intel's multi-tile architecture end goal. Now, a lot of people would see that and go, oh, so that big.LITTLE's the end goal. Or, oh, so they're just going to, you know, put one thing on a tile, one thing on this tile, put them together. That's the end goal. It's actually kind of more ingenious and beneficial to how Intel operates than that. You see, Intel's a very large company with design teams making IP and parts of SoCs all over the world, and these need to be combined and then tested and validated, and well, it's a lot. And it's not strictly right now completely split up in a way where they could really pull like they're pulling different Lego pieces from all over the world and put them together for very specific products for very specific customers. That's what they're going to try to do by 2025. And once they can do that, that's when they want to bring out their revolutionary Lego pieces, the revolutionary small, big, and GPU architectures that can be mixed and matched to hopefully take all performance crowns for that unquestioned leadership Pat Gelsinger says they're going to achieve. So think about kind of what I'm saying here, how Alder Lake is the first step. Alder Lake brings out combining multiple types of core architectures and graphics together for, well, a mostly monolithic lineup, though. But then it's going to be iterated on with Raptor Lake and eventually disaggregated into Meteor Lake, which let me give you some Meteor Lake quotes here. Meteor Lake can almost be considered the final iteration of the Alder Lake Raptor Lake design into a disaggregated architecture with tiles. Meteor Lake uses a separate Z tile with 2.5 or 3D stacking. Meteor Lake competes the first half of the journey to Intel's revolutionary brand new architecture. The first half is accomplishing heterogeneous cores in one tiled SoC. So you see what's going on here. It's kind of like from Alder Lake to Raptor Lake to Meteor Lake, getting good at the scheduling of big.LITTLE, of multiple core architecture, splitting off the GPU into its own tile, and then really as many things as you can where it makes sense into different tiles to mix and match and stack. You see, in fact, when I saw Jim's Arrow Lake leak, I said, 320 execution units, guys. That seems like a lot. Not just a lot for being a die shrunk architecture. To me, you could almost suggest that though they're not getting multiple GPU tiles working for a gaming GPU with DG2, that it might even just share one of the GPU tiles with DG3 or DG4. You see, that's what that massive GPU suggests to me, that it might be using TSMC for that GPU tile and sharing it with gaming graphics cards. Now, I can't specifically confirm that, but I can say that is Intel's end goal, and that's a big GPU to just include. I don't think it's just to compete with Apple. And then once Intel masters it, once they master disaggregation and combining multiple tiles into a 3D stacked lineup, that is when they're hoping to have, well, what's been called a Royal Cove project done. And honestly, I wasn't sure how much I was going to talk about this Royal Core project in this video because it is fairly sensitive, but at this point I do have multiple sources from around Intel who can confirm it, and one of those sources is the one that told me about Z super sampling. So this is 100% true. Even if what goes into Lunar Lake changes, and it will. Even if what goes into Nova Lake changes, and it will. It's years away, guys. It is not done. Things are going to change. I at least now know that 100% multiple people in Intel know it, so it's not as sensitive as it was earlier this year, and that this story is true. And this is the story of Jim Keller building a Zen 5 killer, and I just think you guys are going to want to know about it. But yeah, so Royal Core is the project for the architectures that Jim Keller was working on to evolve past the Core series, the biggest uplift in decades at Intel. It aims to build a new series of architectures that ensure Intel's x86 products can win in efficiency over ARM and Apple for the foreseeable future. It was, and I'm 100% sure of this, initially planned to roll out in 2024 with Lunar Lake, but much of this Royal upgrade could really be coming out in Nova Lake. Remember that RDNA 2 is kind of what the final RDNA 1 was supposed to be, but RDNA 1 was good enough in the mid-range that they launched it early at AMD. Things that are designed and being planned 3, 4, 5 years out, things change. What actually gets implemented into each thing is not going to be 100% known for a couple years, but some pretty crazy things are coming, guys. What I will say is that Intel wants to get as much of what I'm about to show you out in something by 2025. All right, so let's go through some of these quotes. Once disaggregated architectures are achieved in Meteor Lake, Lunar or Nova Lake, this person was unsure, though seemed to think it was actually Lunar Lake, brings in the new architectures that should be the biggest leap in Intel performance since the introduction of the Core series, up to a doubling of IPC over Golden Cove. And Lunar Lake aims to bring at least a 30% IPC increase over Meteor Lake with Lion Cove, and Nova Lake extends this with Panther Cove. And I've actually seen more of an IPC increase over Golden Cove, but again, I think you have to understand, 2025, these designs are not done. And people that tell you they're sure what they will be is wrong. If they can get some of these massive IPC increases ready and into Lunar Lake before Nova Cove is out, that's what Intel's going to do. But it might have to wait for Panther Cove in Nova Lake. Sorry, guys. Jesus. And yeah, they're considering doing some pretty crazy things. 4-way hyperthreading is mentioned on multiple architectures after 2024 as potential. DDR5 at 7400 megahertz, integrated machine learning accelerators, and more are on the table by implementation in the next 5 years. But first, they need a master disaggregation, scheduling, and splitting up everything into 3-stack tiles. Stacking itself is hard. After that is when they try to move to their crazy ambitious architectures that will be in Lunar or Nova Lake and in things like Diamond Cove, in Diamond Lake. Sorry, guys, the codenames confuse me sometimes. And things like Sierra Forest. That is what's going on. That is what Intel's end goal. And it is not as simple as just more of this, more of that. But when you think about what they're trying to do and how good maybe they will get with communicating between tiles, I think you can see what's possible here. Like I've said this on Broken Silicon multiple times. If you can get big.LITTLE to work, then you can. Either it works or it doesn't. And if big.LITTLE does work well by Raptor Lake, then why not just continue to give you 8 to 12 big cores every year with 10 to 30% more IPC every year, and then just add a ton of little cores? You know, again, either the multi-threading and scheduling with big.LITTLE works or it doesn't. If it does, just give us a lot of IPC on 8 or less cores or something like that, and then a ton of little cores that take up significantly less die space, which I outlined in a leak earlier this year, is a more efficient way of scaling performance with die space. So That's what Intel's doing. The possibilities honestly kind of sound endless here. And a final thing I want to close on in this video is a word to the people at Intel. Nothing I'm disclosing in this video, and I did hold back on some pretty key stuff, is stuff that AMD doesn't know, stuff that they're already saying behind the scenes. The difference is that the people at AMD don't really think you're going to succeed at half of it. So I guess it's up to you, people that work at Intel, to know that you are being severely underestimated right now, at least for the next few years. And, well, I hope you prove them wrong. And just so you guys know, the people at AMD are working on some pretty insane stuff as well. And you should not hold back, not just to prove them wrong, but because if you don't succeed in the things I've outlined here, I think they will have things around that anyways. And I am so excited for the competition coming over the next few years. And as you can guess, there will be many more specific leaks as we get closer to those releases. You know, similar to how I outlined the Alder Lake lineup before it came out and gave key details on Raptor Lake. We need to get closer to Lunar Lake to even be sure what Lunar Lake is versus Nova Lake, because even Intel does not know yet. But I will be here to tell you about it. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, Moore's Law is Dead, and ring the bell button. And if you do like these videos, consider sharing them. It really helps a lot. Or supporting me, Dan Gerard, the Moore's Law is Dead team on Patreon, where you can get exclusive podcasts every other week, where you get ad-free versions of Broken Silicon, the chance to ask me and guest questions that are read live on air on Broken Silicon, and access to a Discord with people who I know would love to discuss the implications of what I've outlined in this video with you right now. And as always, though, no matter what, thank you for watching.